Let me tell you, no one who walked into that courtroom that morning expected the next hour would become the talk of the entire country. Not the judge, not the lawyers, not the tired old man in the back row with his faded veteran's cap, and certainly not me. But there I was, Sergeant David Keene, a former physics teacher turned combat veteran, sitting in my wheelchair in front of a judge who, let's just say, ran her courtroom with an iron fist and zero patience for what she called excuses. The walls were stained with years of worry and harsh fluorescent lights. The American flag hung limp, the whole place smelling of lemon cleaner and decades of lost hope, you know what I mean? My right leg, well, what was left of it after Iraq, was hidden under my khaki pants, my left hand always shaking a bit, a souvenir from an IED, the sort of thing that changes you forever. I was up on contempt charges for missing a few court dates. The kind of technicality that could trip up anyone, but here's the kicker. The bus route to the courthouse had changed. The new stop was 8 blocks away, no ramps, no way for someone in a chair to make it. My request to reschedule or appear remotely. All denied, red tape and cold indifference. So there I sat, listening as Judge Elena Brooks peered down over her glasses. Her reputation for being tough on rules was legendary, especially with military folks like me. Rumor was, she was trying to prove she never played favorites, no matter who your daddy was or how many stripes you'd worn. When the court came to order, you could practically taste the tension. My young attorney, Marcus Washington, barely out of law school, tried to speak for me, but I stopped him. Figured I owed it to myself to speak up. Your Honor, I started, explaining the changed bus routes, the lack of access, and the simple request for a fair shot at justice. She cut me off, sharp as a razor. Court procedures are not a menu. Yeah, that happened. The whole place stiffened up, and you could see a couple folks in the gallery shaking their heads, old veterans who knew exactly how these things go. I told her, I'm not asking for special treatment, just equal access, Americans with Disabilities Act and all. She snapped back, don't lecture this court. Then she looked me dead in the eye, her voice cold as January. You'll stand to receive your sentence. Now, let me tell you, I would have if I could. Some days the prosthetic leg works, most days it's hell, and that day was worse than usual. But she didn't want to hear it. You will stand or be held in contempt again. The room was silent, everyone waiting to see if I try. So I did. I gripped the arms of my chair, tried to push myself up, sweat breaking out on my forehead, knuckles white, my good leg shaking. Managed to get upright for a second, swaying, defiant. Then my body betrayed me. Nerve pain flared, the world spun, and I collapsed, hitting the table hard on my way down. Gasps everywhere. Marcus rushed to help, whispering, stay down, don't do this. But I told him, help me, Yup, if she wants me to stand, I'll stand. And that's when it happened. The old man in the veteran's cap stood up in the gallery, voice trembling, I'll stand for him. Then a postal worker, saying her son had served with men like me, stood too. One by one, people all across the room started rising, first a handful, then a dozen, until nearly everyone was on their feet. Even the court reporter set her machine aside. Only Judge Brooks sat, rattled, demanding order, but nobody listened. For the first time, I felt something shift. A courtroom full of strangers refusing to let me stand alone. With Marcus's help, I got back in my chair. Your Honor, I said, I guess I'm standing now, through them. The judge had no words. That's when the doors swung open and a tall woman in full army dress uniform strode in. All business, Colonel Jennifer Ramirez, there to observe the court after complaints about how vets were treated here. She presented a federal order, cool as you please, stating she had the right to witness the proceedings. Judge Brooks sputtered, tried to push back, but Colonel Ramirez just handed her photos. Me in Iraq, me in the hospital, me receiving the Purple Heart in this very wheelchair. She explained my nerve damage, how sometimes I could stand, sometimes not. In private chambers, the judge finally lost her composure, angry at being challenged, but Ramirez calmly laid out the facts. There's a difference between weakness and disability, she told her, and it landed hard. When the judge came back, she was changed. She dismissed my contempt charges, ordered the courthouse to accommodate all disabilities in the future, and launched a full review of their accessibility policies. But I didn't want special treatment. I just wanted what any vet wants, the chance to participate fully in society. She listened. She really listened. When it was over, I was met outside by reporters. I kept it simple. Today wasn't about me. It was about justice being truly accessible. The story went viral. Letters poured in from veterans, disability advocates, even lawyers offering to file lawsuits. But that's not who I am. I am just a teacher who signed up to serve, never wanted to be a symbol for anything. Still, I agreed to testify before a Senate committee. And as I sat there in my wheelchair, facing a half circle of politicians, I tossed aside my written speech and just spoke from the heart. It's not special treatment to need a ramp or a chance to participate in court without doing the impossible. When I couldn't stand, others stood for methods the America I believe in. And just like that, the whole Senate chamber stood, one after another, a moment caught on camera, spreading everywhere. Within a month, Congress passed new laws ensuring full access for disabled veterans nationwide, and state courts followed suit. Judge Brooks herself became an advocate, training others on what true accommodation means. On Memorial Day, I spoke at Arlington, reminding folks that true honor lies in how we treat those who came home changed. Later, standing, or rolling rather, at my old commander's grave, I was joined by Frank Morales, that same Korean War vet. We walked among the headstones, old wounds and new, knowing that change was real, if slow. A year after that day in court, I returned for the reopening ramps, wider aisles, the judge's bench lowered, a symbolic empty wheelchair beside it. Justice, finally seeing beyond physical limits. Back home that night, scrolling through messages from vets across the country, I found one from a young soldier at Walter Reed. How did you find the strength to keep going? I told him the truth. The hardest part isn't living with what you've lost, but remembering what you still have to give. You don't have to stand for something. And when you can't stand alone, others will stand with you. That's not weakness, it's the strongest thing there is. So, what do you think was justice done? Did the system finally bend toward fairness? Or is this just a start? Let's hear to me where you stand on what's right, what's wrong, and what real justice means. Because in the end, we all have a choice: stand alone or rise together.